What's up, guys? Bluntguts here. I am doing a Watcher Realms video for you today, and today I want to talk about this upcoming summon event that is coming up this weekend. For once, I feel like for the first time in like 2 months, we don't have a two-time summon, which is interesting. I guess that's okay. I feel like I'm kind of saturated on summons at the moment, so I've had enough. I could use a break. With that said, I think that most of you are not going to want to take a break this weekend because arguably the best champion in the game, not the best damage dealer, but the best champion, the best support champion in the game is going to be on a 10 times this weekend, and I am talking about none other than Elowyn, the Meadow Sage. She is a certified badass. You want her on your account if you don't have her. If you do have her on your account, maybe you want the Awakenings. Personally, I don't. I think that I'm lucky enough to have her already, so I'm not going to be summoning this weekend, or at least I'm going to try to stop myself from summoning. I say that I'm not going to summon very often, and I end up doing it anyway. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to go through this 10x a little bit. It is definitely worth summoning on if you don't have. If there's two reasons. One, either you don't have Elowyn, or you don't have Abomination yet. You haven't fused Abomination yet, I should say, because if you pulled him, you may still want to do the fusion so that you can get him up to A1 or A2 or whatever it is that you have. So just going to go through it real quick. We've got Elowyn here. She is the belle of the ball. She is the one that you want. She helps in pretty much every single area of the game. There's not really a spot that I don't use her right now. She is the best AoE healer in the game. She can provide really solid single target heals as well, so she's pretty versatile that way. Her basic attack, we're just going to go through the skills real quick here. I'm going to do a more detailed breakdown later in the week, but grants attack-based healing to up to 3 allies in range. I think if you were going to find a negative about Elowyn, the only negative that I could find really is that she is a attack-based healer. Like most of the healers in the game, it seems like, as far as the developers are concerned, if the healer is going to provide you with more than just healing, then any kind of utility that they provide, then they need to be attack-based because they'd be too strong if they were HP-based. At least this is my interpretation. I don't know if that's what their logic is, but it does seem to be pretty consistent that if they bring more than just the healing, so if they bring buffs or rage regen, as is the case with Elowyn, then it's usually going to be an attack-based healer in that case, which reduces their survivability, which is unfortunate, but she is worth ringing regardless of how survivable she is. And she does have decent base stats, so I think mine ends up around 25k HP, which is significantly more than most of the other platform units in the game. You're not going to approach the 50k plus HP threshold that you can get with Midon and with Vortex, also two fantastic healers. But Elowyn is really somebody that you want in your squad. So, as I said, basic attack, 3 allies in range. The ultimate is pretty amazing. So she provides a metric fuck ton of healing. Beyond that, she also dispels all debuffs. And she's one of 2 champions in the game that has an AoE debuff dispel. The other one being Midon, who's an epic, is a good healer in her own right, but is not as good as Elowyn by any means. So she's going to provide that dispel for you. That comes in really crucial, particularly in the Arachis stages in Void Rift, especially when you get up to Nightmare Void Rift. If you don't have a dispel, you're not going to be able to clear those stages. So it is very important that you have a strong healer to bring. In that case, I actually bring both Midon and Elowyn in on my Nightmare Void Rift clears. So useful having her there. She's also got this kind of awesome ability where she summons a Wood Elf. So it's a 5 cost. You can drop it anywhere on the map. So if she's on the far left side of the map, you can drop it on the far right. Any place that you can drop a melee unit, you can drop the Wood Elf, and they're going to do AoE healing. 1 every 40 seconds. Cooldown reduces that down to 30 seconds, which is just really amazing. It makes her even more versatile because theoretically, if you've got a unit that is across the map, as long as you can drop a Wood Elf next to them and they're not taking steady damage, then you can keep them topped off, and that really opens up your options as far as what you can do with your roster. And then this is it's kind of funny. It's the It's her passive skill, but her passive skill is probably the best thing about her. And that is that she restores rage for everybody. And that's not just everybody in her healing range, that is everybody in the entire map. All of your champions that are on the field are going to get that rage regen. So it starts off at 1%, it ticks up to 3% when you scale her up. And you can also reduce the interval that the rage is restored down to 3 seconds from 5. So really amazing. This comes into play really every place in the game, but you really see its impact, I'd say most in Guild Boss, where you're trying to rotate as many ultimates in as possible. And especially when you combine that with another rage booster like say Laurel or even Leia, I think some people use. I personally don't, so I'm not sure about the specifics of that comp, but it just having more rage really lets you kind of rotate your ultimates. And when I'm doing my Guild Boss runs, the champions are spending more time in their ultimate than they are out of it. So and she enables it. She really makes that possible. So definitely would recommend summoning her. I take a look at Anai real quick, but I'm not going to go into detail here. She's a champion who primarily is concentrated around burning. She does a lot of her damage based on putting burns on the target. From what I've seen, she doesn't do very much damage. Her skill set seems to imply that she should be a Guild Boss kind of queen, but she is not, unfortunately. She's an Infernal, so again, that kind of lends to the meta for Guild Boss right now is these Infernal teams with either Twin Fiend or Pyros, and then you bring in some of the fantastic Infernal DPS like Settrem, like Zillitu, like Hex, and you can really enable, there's some comps that are doing over 80k blood, which is just ridiculous. But unfortunately, she doesn't really fit the bill here. She doesn't do enough damage. The only real utility that she does bring is on her A1, where she brings in magic resistance reduction, which is a pretty rare debuff. But it's only minus 15%, so it's not as much as Ajax's, which is, I think, 30%. It is the same as Greed's, who is now a login champ that everybody gets. So I wouldn't be too focused on Anai. She's honestly the reason why I'm not going to pull this weekend, because as much as I would be okay with getting more copies of Elowyn, I don't really want an Anai. I feel like that's kind of a waste of a legendary summon. I do want to actually realize that I forgot to take a look at the Awakenings, which are not all that strong. So Elowyn's Awakenings, A1, 20% damage reduction. I believe this is just for her. It's not for everybody that she's healing. If it was, then it would be really strong. But it just for her, it is probably not going to be all that great. 300 attack is kind of boring. So each basic attack launch has a 20% chance to dispel debuffs from allies. I may be wrong about this, but as far as I know, there is not any content in the game where you actually need to kind of constantly be dispelling people. Like I mentioned to Ratchet earlier, she drops this poison that ticks very hard, and you need to get it off of everybody immediately. But this isn't going to help you with that because it's only a 20% chance, and you basically are going to have to. I guess her attack speed. I think mine is built around 400 speed, so I think that brings her down to around 1.5 seconds or so on her basic attack. But 20% chance, you're going to have to wait 7.5 seconds in order to have a reasonable chance at triggering this. And I'm not clear on whether or not this is dispel 20% for each ally. I remember she's only healing 3, so if you don't get the one that you need to get dispelled, that's going to be a problem for you. So this doesn't seem reliable. Doesn't really seem like it's worth pursuing. The rage regen is nice, but it's her rage regen that she provides that's really important, not her individual rage regen. So I don't think that that's something that you really need to pursue. Obtain a Wood Elf immediately after using Greats of Nature. That's okay, but when it's skilled up, you're going to get one every 30 seconds anyway, and on top of that, you can't have 2 active at the same time. So this isn't going to, say, let you double up on the Wood Elves. It's not bad, but it's not great either, and I don't think it justifies pulling on a non-2 times to try to get this champion. Awakened more than that. Her base, her A0 is just so unbelievably strong. I'm not making the argument that she needs better Awakenings, but I am going to make the argument that if you already have her, I don't think it's worth pulling. So just a couple other things about the banner. So these two champions, Damon and Harpoon, they're not champions that you really need to pursue unless you want to do the Abomination fusion, and you need these guys. They're some of the rarer ones in the game, despite the fact that they're not all that great. So if you are still missing these, definitely worth pulling for that. Abomination is a beast, and if you don't have him on your account, you definitely want him. Amani, I haven't really used all that much, but I have seen some breakdowns of her. I think she's a good champion, but I wouldn't pull on a 10 times just for the epics. It's not really worthwhile, and you're going to get a bunch of these anyway. I've never really pursued Amani, and I think I've got her A4 right now, and that's after about 3 months of play, about 2,700 summons in. So yeah, it is what it is. I think to answer the question, should you summon, if you are somebody who doesn't have Elowyn on your account, then the answer is unequivocally yes. You want her on your account. Even if you don't have very many shards, you still should take the opportunity to try to get her, because she is that much of a game changer. She's going to enable you to progress much further in the game. And really, I'd say more than almost any other champion in the game. If you get her, she's gonna enhance what you're able to do with all of your other champions. So I definitely think you should pull for her if you have her. If you don't have her, excuse me. If you do have her on your account already, I think maybe if you're into really fleshing out your collection and you want to make sure you get an Anai, you could do that, I suppose. I personally won't be doing that, but I could certainly understand why you might want to do that. I don't think that Anai is going to help you in Infernal Faction Trials. I've gotten through stage 11 on that, so I've got one more to go, but she wouldn't do anything for me. She's not going to help me clear 12, so I'm not interested in her for that. And yeah, I mean, I guess you'll have to make your own decisions here, but I definitely think that she is the detractor. And the last thing to kind of keep in mind is, and shout out to Fastidious on this, because he's done such great work pulling together all these different stats so that we have more insight into the individual pull chances of legendaries. And Elowyn is a relatively low pull chance. So I don't know what Anai's is. She's a new champion, so nobody really knows what it is. But considering that she's not that great, I imagine that it's significantly higher. So even though they're both on a 10 times, you're probably 2 to 3 times more likely to pull Anai than you are to pull Elowyn. So you can keep that in mind. So if you are looking for those extra copies of Elowyn, you're probably going to have to pay for it in copies of Anai. So yeah, anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope that this informs your decision this weekend. And please like and subscribe. And I will catch you guys next time.